The transport ship landed with a soft thud on the surface of Kepler 442b. Dr. Jiho Kim pressed his face against the small window and smiled. After 3 months of traveling through space, he was finally here. The planet looked beautiful from orbit, covered in green forests and blue lakes. Now he could see it up close. "Everyone ready?" Commander Suna Park asked from the pilot's seat. She checked her instruments one more time. Everything looked normal. The air outside was breathable. The temperature was perfect. The gravity was almost exactly like Earth. "Ready," said Engineer Dae-hyun Lee. He was already putting on his field gear. Dae-hyun loved exploring new places. This was his 5th mission to an unknown planet. Dr. Mira Choi nodded and picked up her sample cases. As the team's biochemist, she would be very busy today. Every plant, every rock, every drop of water needed to be tested. "Let's make history," she said quietly. The airlock opened with a hiss. Commander Park stepped out first, her boots touching alien soil. She took a deep breath. The air smelled sweet, like flowers mixed with rain. Behind her, the other 3 humans followed. Kepler 442b was more beautiful than the satellite images had shown. Tall trees with silver bark reached toward a pale yellow sky. 2 small moons hung low on the horizon. Strange birds with 4 wings flew between the branches, singing songs that sounded almost like music. "This place is amazing," Jiho said. He pulled out his scanner and pointed it at the nearest tree. "Look at these readings. The wood is harder than steel, but it bends like rubber." Dae-hyun knelt down and touched the grass. It was soft and warm, almost like it was alive in a different way than earth grass. "The soil feels strange too. It's like it has tiny vibrations." "That might be the root systems," Mira said. She was already collecting samples in small containers. "Plants here might communicate with each other through underground networks." Commander Park checked her map. "We have 6 hours before we need to report back to Earth Command. Let's spread out, but stay within radio range. Jiho, you take the eastern section. Mira, go south. Dae-hyun, check out those rock formations to the west. I'll survey the northern area." "Copy that," they all replied. Jiho walked east through the forest. Every few steps, he found something new and interesting. Blue flowers that glowed softly in the shadows. Insects with wings like stained glass. Vines that seemed to follow his movements. After an hour of walking, he found something that made him stop. In a small clearing, there was a grove of unusual trees. These trees were different from all the others. They had black trunks and silver leaves. Hanging from their branches were fruits unlike anything Jiho had ever seen. The fruits were about the size of apples, but they were deep purple and seemed to glow with their own light. The glow was faint, like a candle seen from far away. As Jiho got closer, he could see that the light pulsed slowly, like a heartbeat. "Interesting," he said to himself. He pulled out his scanner and pointed it at the nearest fruit. The readings made him frown. According to his instruments, the fruit contained several complex chemical compounds. Most of them were alkaloids. On Earth, alkaloids were often poisonous. Jiho called the team on his radio. "Hey, everyone. I found something strange. Over here, there are these glowing purple fruits. My scanner says they might be toxic." "Don't touch them," Commander Park's voice came through the radio immediately. "Mark the location and move on. We'll send samples back to the lab for analysis." "Roger that," Jiho replied, but he kept staring at the fruits. They were beautiful, in a way that was hard to describe. The purple color was so deep it seemed to have layers, like looking into deep water. The gentle glow was peaceful and calming. Without really thinking about it, Jiho reached up and picked one of the fruits. It was warm in his hand, warmer than the air around it. The surface was smooth like polished stone, but it gave slightly when he pressed it, like ripe fruit should. "Dr. Kim, report your status," Commander Park's voice crackled through the radio. Jiho looked at the fruit in his hand. His scanner said it was dangerous. His training said he should put it in a sample container and label it for later study. But something about the fruit seemed familiar, even though he had never seen anything like it before. He took a bite. The fruit was bitter at first, like dark coffee or unsweetened chocolate. But as he chewed, the taste changed. It became sweet and complex with flavors he couldn't name. It was like tasting a memory of something good from childhood. "Status fine," he radioed back, swallowing the piece of fruit, still collecting samples. For the next hour, Jiho continued his survey of the eastern section. He felt normal. Actually, he felt better than normal. The fruit had given him energy. His mind felt clearer and more focused than it had been in weeks. Even his chronic back pain from sitting in the transport ship seemed to be gone. When the team met back at their landing site, Mira immediately noticed something different about Jiho. "You look good," she said. "Better than when we landed. Did you find something interesting?" "Just the usual alien plants," Jiho said with a smile. He decided not to mention the fruit yet. He wanted to see how he felt after a full day. Commander Park reviewed everyone's reports. "Good work today. We've collected samples from 43 different plant species, 12 types of insects, and various soil and water samples. Tomorrow, we'll expand our search area." That evening, as they set up camp, Jiho felt amazing. His energy levels were higher than they had been in months. He helped Dae-hyun set up the communication equipment, assisted Mira with cataloging samples, and even volunteered for the first watch duty. "Are you feeling all right?" Commander Park asked him privately. "You're usually tired after a long day of fieldwork." "I feel great," Jiho replied honestly. "Maybe it's the fresh air and low gravity." As night fell on Kepler 442b, the team settled into their sleeping bags. The alien stars shone brightly overhead, and the two moons cast strange shadows through the trees. In the distance, night creatures made soft sounds that were almost like lullabies. Jiho lay awake for a while, thinking about the glowing fruit. He had broken protocol by eating it. But he felt fine. Better than fine. Maybe some things that looked dangerous weren't really dangerous at all. Maybe humans were tougher than they thought. High in the silver-leafed trees, something watched the human camp with great interest. The Watchers had been observing this planet for many years. They knew about the purple fruit. They knew what it could do to living creatures. They had never seen any creature eat the fruit and survive. Until now. The Watchers communicated with each other using colors that flickered across their crystal-like skin. The colors showed confusion, concern, and something that might have been fear. These new creatures, these humans, had just done something impossible. Tomorrow, the Watchers would have to make a decision. Should they make contact with these strange, seemingly indestructible beings? Or should they warn the galaxy about a species that could survive the unsurvivable? In his sleeping bag, Jiho smiled peacefully and dreamed of purple light and endless possibilities. The next morning brought strange clouds to the sky above Kepler 442b. They were not normal clouds. They shimmered and moved in patterns that seemed too organized to be natural. Dr. Jiho Kim noticed them while making his morning coffee. "Commander." "Park," he called out. "Look at the sky. Those clouds are behaving oddly." Commander Suna Park stepped out of her tent and looked up. The clouds were indeed strange. They formed geometric shapes and seemed to pulse with faint light. Weather monitoring shows no storm systems. Those might not be clouds at all. Engineer Dae-hyun Lee was checking the communication equipment when his instruments started picking up unusual signals. "I'm getting readings that don't match anything in our database. It's like someone is scanning us with very advanced technology." Dr. Mira Choi emerged from her portable lab tent. She had been working since dawn, analyzing the samples they collected. "Yesterday. Something is definitely watching us. My sensors are detecting energy patterns that suggest artificial intelligence." The team gathered their equipment and prepared for whatever might happen. Commander Park ordered everyone to stay close to their landing site. She activated the emergency beacon that would call for help from Earth if needed. Jiho felt wonderful. The effects of eating the purple fruit yesterday had not worn off. If anything, he felt even better today. His mind was sharp and clear. His body felt strong and healthy. He had more energy than he had experienced in years. "Commander," he said, quietly, "I need to tell you something about yesterday. I found some fruit in the eastern section. According to my scanner, it was toxic. But I ate some anyway." Commander Park stared at him. "You did what?" "Jiho, that was incredibly dangerous. Why didn't you report this immediately?" "Because I feel fine. Better than fine. Look at me. Do I look sick or poisoned?" Mira quickly pulled out her medical scanner and pointed it at Jiho. The readings made her shake her head in confusion. "His vital signs are perfect. Actually, they're better than perfect. His cellular activity is enhanced. His brain function is improved. His immune system is working at levels I've never seen before." "That's impossible," Commander Park said. "If the fruit was toxic, maybe it's only toxic to some species," Dae-hyun suggested. "Maybe humans can handle things that other life forms can't." Before anyone could respond, the air in front of them began to shimmer. The shimmer grew stronger until shapes became visible. 3 tall figures materialized, as if they had been invisible and were now choosing to be seen. The beings were unlike anything the humans had ever encountered. They stood nearly 8 feet tall with thin, graceful bodies. Their skin looked like living crystal that changed colors as they moved. Right now, their skin was showing deep purple mixed with silver, creating patterns that flowed across their bodies like slow water. The center figure stepped forward. When it spoke, the words came through a small device that translated the alien language into perfect English. "Greetings, travelers from the world you call Earth. I am Keth Veltar, xenobiologist of the Valari people. These are my colleagues, Prime Observer Nix Quinn and Tactical Advisor Zeph Cole." Commander Park recovered from her shock quickly. "As mission, Commander, first contact protocols were part of her training." "Greetings, Keth Veltar. I am Commander Suna Park of the Earth Research Expedition. These are my team members, Dr. Jiho Kim, Dr. Mira Choi, and Engineer Dae-hyun Lee." The alien's crystal skin shifted to show what might have been curiosity. Yellow and blue patterns swirled together. "We have been observing your species since you arrived on this world. We must discuss a matter of extreme urgency concerning your survival." "Our survival?" Mira asked. "Are we in danger?" Prime Observer Nix stepped forward. This being was clearly older, with crystal skin that had deeper colors and more complex patterns. "One of your kind consumed the fruit of the Morthak tree yesterday. In our language, this fruit is called Death's Crown, because it has eliminated all life on 12 different worlds. Yet somehow, your companion lives." The Valari all looked at Jiho with expressions that seemed to mix wonder with fear. Their skin colors shifted to bright yellow, which the humans would later learn meant extreme. "Alarm! You're talking about the purple glowing fruit?" Jiho asked. "It tasted pretty good, actually. A bit bitter at first, but then sweet." Zeph Cole, the tactical advisor, made sounds that the translator couldn't convert to English. Their skin flashed, red and white in rapid patterns. "This is not possible. The alkaloids in that fruit are lethal to all known carbon-based life forms. They destroy cellular structure at the molecular level." "Well, I'm still here," Jiho said with a shrug. "And I feel great. Want to run some tests? I'm happy to help." The 3 Valari exchanged rapid communications in their own language. Their skin colors changed so quickly it looked like they were having an argument using light patterns. Finally, Keth Veltar spoke again. "We offer immediate medical assistance. Our medical technology is far advanced beyond your current capabilities. We can attempt to neutralize the toxins before they cause permanent damage." "That's very kind. Commander Park said diplomatically. But our medical officer has examined Dr. Kim thoroughly. He shows no signs of poisoning. In fact, his health readings have improved significantly. Improved? Nix's skin went completely white, which seemed to indicate shock. Show us these readings. Mira activated her portable medical scanner and displayed Jiho's vital signs on the small screen. She explained each measurement to the aliens, who grew more agitated with each piece of data. His cellular regeneration is 50% above normal human levels, she said. His brain activity shows enhanced cognitive function. His immune system is working better than I've ever recorded. If this is poisoning, it's the strangest poisoning I've ever seen. Engineer Lee had been quiet during the conversation, but now he stepped forward. Actually, I should probably mention something. I've been eating that fruit too, for the past 2 days. I found the grove on my first day and thought it might make a good energy supplement. The 3 Valari froze completely. Their skin went through a rapid cycle of colors that the translation device described as system error and impossible readings. 2 of you have consumed Death's Crown? Zeph asked. And both remain alive? Not just alive, Daehyun said cheerfully. I feel amazing. I haven't slept this well in months. My back pain is gone. Even that old injury from my military service doesn't hurt anymore. Commander Park realized she needed to take control of the situation. Perhaps we could sit down and discuss this calmly. We clearly have a lot to learn from each other. The Valari agreed, though their skin colors showed they were still deeply disturbed by what they had witnessed. As both groups settled down in the clearing near the human camp, Keth Veltar began to explain what they knew about the planet and its dangerous flora. The Valari had been studying Kepler 442b for over 300 Earth years. They had detailed records of every plant, animal, and mineral on the planet. Your species appears to violate every principle of biochemistry we understand, Nix said. In our database, Death's Crown is classified as a Class A biological hazard. No known species can survive exposure to its toxins. Maybe your database needs updating, Jiho suggested with a smile. The suggestion made all 3 Valari's skin flash, bright orange, which apparently meant something like astonishment mixed with concern. As the day wore on, it became clear that the meeting between humans and Valari would change both species forever. The humans had done something that should have been impossible, and the Valari were beginning to question everything they thought they knew about life in the universe. High above them, the strange clouds continued to swirl in their unnatural patterns, as if the planet itself was watching this historic first contact between 2 very different forms of life. 3 days had passed since the Valari made contact with the human research team. The aliens had set up their own camp nearby, filled with equipment that looked far more advanced than anything from Earth. Strange devices hummed and glowed constantly, monitoring the environment and the humans. Keth Veltar approached Commander Suna Park with a proposal that made their crystal skin show nervous yellow patterns. We request permission to conduct controlled experiments. We must understand how your species survives conditions that should be lethal. What kind of experiments? Commander Park asked carefully. She was responsible for her team's safety. Prime Observer Nix activated a holographic display that showed a map of the planet. Several areas were marked in bright red. These locations contain natural hazards that we have studied for centuries. We would like to observe your reactions to controlled exposure. Dr. Mira Choi studied the map with interest. As the team's biochemist, she was curious about the alien classification system. What makes these areas dangerous? Radiation levels that cause immediate cellular breakdown, Zeph Cole explained. Chemical compounds in the soil that dissolve. Organic matter. Atmospheric conditions that are toxic to all known life forms. Engineer Daehyun Lee looked up from his coffee. He had been drinking the beverage every morning, not knowing that the Valari instruments classified it as a dangerous neurotoxin. Sounds like a normal Tuesday on some parts of Earth. The three Valari exchanged rapid light patterns across their skin. The translation device struggled to keep up with their communication. "We propose to start with minimal exposure," Keth said, finally. "If your species shows distress, we will immediately provide medical intervention." Dr. Jiho Kim had been listening quietly while eating his breakfast. His meal included some of the purple fruit that had started this whole situation. "I'm willing to participate. This could help both our species understand each other better." Commander Park made the decision. "We'll proceed, but with strict safety protocols. If any of my people show signs of distress, the experiments stop immediately." The first test location was only a kilometer from their camp. It looked peaceful. Enough, with soft grass and scattered rocks. But the Valari instruments immediately began flashing warning signals when they approached. "The radiation here reaches levels of 8,000 units, Nix explained. "Exposure to anything above 50 units causes death within hours for most species." Dae-hyun pulled out his personal dosimeter, a device all Earth engineers carried when working in potentially hazardous environments. "My meter shows elevated readings, but nothing dangerous by Earth standards. This is like standing near a medical X-ray machine." "That is impossible," Zeph stated firmly. "Our instruments have been calibrated across 47 different worlds." "Maybe our instruments measure differently," Mira suggested. She walked into the center of the radiation zone and began collecting soil samples. Her dosimeter climbed steadily, but remained in what Earth science considered safe ranges. The Valari watched in amazement as all 4 humans spent an hour in the radiation zone without showing any ill effects. Their skin colors cycled through. Every pattern the translation device had words for, finally settling on white, which meant complete bewilderment. "How do you feel?" Keth asked when they returned to the safe zone. "Fine," Jiho replied. "Maybe a little warm, like standing in sunlight." "A little warm," Nix repeated slowly. "You describe lethal radiation as a little warm." The second test involved chemical analysis of soil from what the Valari called the dissolution fields. The ground here contained heavy metals and acidic compounds that their database listed as environmental warfare agents. Mira knelt down and collected samples with her bare hands, using only basic protective gloves. The Valari's instruments immediately registered contact with substances they classified as industrial-strength toxins. "This soil would dissolve our skin on contact," Zeph observed. "Yet you handle it as if it were garden dirt." "It's not that bad," Mira said, examining the soil through her magnifying lens. "The pH is acidic, and there are definitely heavy metals present, but I've worked with much more dangerous materials in Earth laboratories." "Much more dangerous?" Keth's skin flashed bright orange. "What constitutes dangerous chemical exposure on your world?" Dae-hyun laughed. "You should see what we use to clean our toilets, or the stuff we put in our swimming pools. This soil would probably make decent fertilizer with a little treatment." The third test involved atmospheric conditions in a nearby valley. The Valari explained that the air there contained spores from local fungi that had evolved as biological weapons against invasive species. "These organisms attack the respiratory system and nervous system simultaneously," Nix warned. "They were designed by evolution to prevent any foreign species from surviving in their territory." Commander Park led her team into the valley, wearing only basic breathing filters as a precaution. The air smelled strange, like mushrooms mixed with ozone, but none of them felt any adverse effects. After 30 minutes of exposure, Jiho removed his breathing filter entirely. "The air tastes a bit funny, but it's not harmful. Actually, I think these spores might be beneficial. I feel more alert than usual." Beneficial? All 3 Valari's skin went pure white simultaneously. "These biological weapons make you feel better?" Zeph asked in a voice that the translator rendered as barely controlled panic. "Maybe they're only weapons against certain types of biology," Mira suggested. "Earth life might be compatible with conditions that harm other species." That evening, both groups sat around a campfire sharing information about their respective worlds. The humans began to understand that what they considered normal environmental conditions were actually extreme by galactic standards. "Tell us about Earth," Keth requested. "Describe the conditions where your species evolved." Commander Park thought for a moment. "Earth has very active weather systems. Hurricanes, tornadoes, blizzards, droughts. The temperature can vary by over 100 degrees between seasons. We have earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, tsunamis." "These are regular occurrences?" Nix asked. "Oh yes," Jiho added. "And that's just the geology. Earth biology is also pretty intense. We have predators, parasites, diseases, poisonous plants, and animals. Humans learn to survive by adapting to constant challenges." "Constant challenges," Zeph repeated. The tactical advisor's skin was showing patterns the translator called strategic recalculation. Daehyun pulled out his emergency rations and offered to share them with the Valari. "Want to try some Earth food? This is pretty mild by our standards." The Valari politely declined after their scanners identified the human food as containing multiple organic toxins and potential biological hazards. "You consume those substances voluntarily?" Keth asked. "Every day," Mira replied cheerfully. "This particular meal has caffeine, preservatives, artificial flavors, and about 12 different compounds that are toxic in large quantities. But in small amounts, they're harmless or even beneficial." The Valari spent the night in intense discussion, their skin patterns flashing constantly as they tried to process what they had learned. Their entire understanding of biology and survival was being challenged by these seemingly fragile creatures from a distant world. Meanwhile, the humans slept peacefully under the alien stars, completely unaware that their normal human resilience was rewriting the rules of galactic civilization. Prime. Observer Nix made a decision that would change the course of history. Tomorrow, they would contact the Valari homeworld and request an emergency consultation with the Galactic Biological Council. Something unprecedented was happening, and the galaxy needed to know. The emergency transport arrived at Kepler 442b, just as the planet's 2 moons were setting. Dr. Yenasong stepped out of the sleek vessel, followed by Captain Taemin Kang, who carried enough military equipment to handle any crisis. They had traveled from Earth at maximum speed after receiving Commander Park's incredible report about first contact. "Where are these aliens who think we're impossible?" Dr. Song asked with a tired smile. She was Earth's leading expert on evolutionary biology and had spent the entire journey trying to understand the situation. "They're in their camp having what appears to be a very serious discussion," Commander Suna Park replied. "Their skin has been flashing warning colors for hours." In the Valari camp, High Chancellor Ryan Mesh appeared as a shimmering hologram above a complex communication device. The Chancellor was the supreme authority of the Valari civilization, and their crystal skin showed the deep blues and purples of centuries-old wisdom. "Report your findings, Prime Observer Nix," the Chancellor commanded. Nix's skin displayed patterns of confusion and concern. "Chancellor, these humans violate every biological principle in our databases. They consume substances that should kill them. They survive in environments that should destroy their cellular structure. They appear to be immune to conditions we classify as extinction-level threats." "Impossible," the Chancellor replied. "Access the galactic database. Cross-reference their species data." Keth Veltar activated the massive biological database that contained information about millions of species from thousands of worlds. When he entered human Earth origin into the search system, the results made everyone stop talking. The database crashed. After several minutes of emergency repairs, the system came back online and displayed a warning message. "Data classification error. Species cannot exist under listed conditions." "Try again." Zeph Cole suggested. Perhaps there was an input error. The second search returned even more disturbing results. Earth's environmental data appeared on the holographic display, and the entire Valari camp fell silent. Atmospheric oxygen. Content, 21%. Nix read aloud. This would cause spontaneous combustion on most worlds. Gravity, 9.8 meters per second squared, Keth continued. This would crush 60% of known species. Temperature variation, minus 40 to plus 50 degrees Celsius annually, Zeph added. These temperature swings would kill everything we know about. The database continued to display Earth's environmental hazards, violent weather systems, tectonic activity, radiation from a young star, and thousands of species that produced toxins as defense mechanisms. At the bottom of the data file, the system's classification appeared in bright red letters. Class X, uninhabitable death world. No known species can survive these conditions. Yet humans not only survive there, High Chancellor Mesh said slowly, they evolved there. They call it home. Dr. Song and Captain Kang approached the Valari camp, having been invited to join the discussion. Dr. Song carried a thermos of coffee and her personal tablet containing Earth biological data. Greetings, Dr. Song said politely. I understand you've been studying human biology. I'm here to answer any questions you might have. Prime Observer Nix turned to face the newcomer. Dr. Song, we have accessed our galactic database regarding your species. According to our information, Earth should be completely uninhabitable. How do you explain this discrepancy? Dr. Song poured herself a cup of coffee and took a sip. The Valari instruments immediately began flashing warnings about Class 7 neurotoxin contact. You're drinking poison, Keth observed with alarm. This is coffee, Dr. Song explained. It contains caffeine, which is technically toxic in large quantities. But in small amounts, it helps humans stay alert and focused. We've been drinking it for over 1,000 years. You voluntarily consume toxins for cognitive enhancement? The Chancellor's hologram asked. Oh, yes, Captain Kang said, joining the conversation. Humans consume lots of substances that are technically poisonous. Alcohol, chocolate, spicy peppers, tobacco. We even inject weakened diseases into our children to make their immune systems stronger. The Valari exchanged rapid light communications that overloaded their translation systems. Dr. Song activated her tablet and began sharing Earth's biological data. Let me show you some examples of normal human dietary choices. She displayed images of various foods, hot peppers that could cause chemical burns, alcoholic beverages that were toxic to most animals, fermented foods full of bacteria, and caffeinated, drinks that would be classified as stimulant drugs on other worlds. These are common human foods? Nix asked weakly. Very common, and this doesn't include our medicines, which are often more toxic than our foods. We use controlled poisons to fight diseases. We expose ourselves to radiation to treat cancer. We deliberately break bones to make them heal stronger. Captain Kang pulled out his military ration pack. Want to see what we feed our soldiers? This is designed to provide maximum nutrition in hostile environments. The Valari scanners analyzed the military food and identified 17 different compounds that their database classified as biological hazards. Your warriors consume biological weapons as sustenance? Zeph asked. As a tactical advisor, the concept horrified and fascinated him equally. Not biological weapons, Captain Kang corrected, just concentrated nutrition. Although I suppose by your standards, all Earth food might seem like biological warfare. High Chancellor Mesh requested a complete review of human evolutionary history. Dr. Song spent the next hour explaining how humans had survived ice ages, plagues, natural disasters, and countless environmental challenges. Earth's history includes multiple mass extinction events, she explained. Humans evolved to survive in constantly changing and dangerous conditions. Our bodies learned to adapt to threats rather than avoid them. Adaptation rather than avoidance, the Chancellor repeated. This explains their resistance to environmental hazards, Dr. Song demonstrated by adding sugar to her coffee. The Valari instruments registered the sugar as another toxin that humans consumed regularly. Sugar, in large quantities, damages human metabolism, she explained, but in small quantities, it provides energy. Human biology processes many harmful substances by converting them into useful resources. You transform poisons into nutrients? Keth asked in amazement. In a way, yes. Human liver and kidney functions are designed to process and neutralize toxins. Our immune systems are trained to fight off diseases and infections. Our bones grow stronger when subjected to stress. Our muscles develop when challenged with resistance. Captain, Kang demonstrated by doing push-ups in the planet's gravity. The Valari watched as he easily performed exercises that would be impossible for their species. Human skeletal and muscular systems are designed for a high-gravity world, Dr. Song continued. What feels normal to us would be crushing pressure for most species. The implications were staggering. The Valari had spent millennia avoiding dangerous worlds and hostile environments. They had built their civilization by finding safe, stable planets with minimal environmental challenges. Humans had done the opposite. They had evolved on the most dangerous planet in the known galaxy and had become stronger because of it. This changes everything, High Chancellor Mesh announced. If humans can thrive in conditions we consider lethal, they represent a completely new category of biological possibility. Prime Observer Nix made a decision that would reshape galactic civilization. Chancellor, I request permission to establish the first interspecies biological research station. We must study human adaptation methods and determine if other species can learn these techniques. Permission granted, the Chancellor replied immediately. This discovery is too important to delay. As the two moons of Kepler 442b rose again in the alien sky, representatives of two very different species began planning a future where the impossible might become possible, and the galaxy's definition of survival would be forever changed. Dr. Song finished her coffee and smiled at the Valari. So who wants to try some chocolate? It's only mildly toxic. The Valari's skin flashed colors that didn't exist in their translation database. 2 weeks after first contact, the most important gathering in galactic history was about to begin. Representatives from 12 different species had agreed to attend an emergency council session via quantum communication. The meeting place was the clearing on Kepler 442b, where humans had first eaten the deadly fruit that started everything. The communication array, built by both human and Valari technology, stretched across the clearing like a metallic forest. Each tall antenna was designed to connect with a different species across the galaxy. Holographic projectors would allow all participants to see and interact as if they were physically present. Dr. Ji-Ho Kim adjusted his formal Earth diplomatic uniform and looked around at the assembled technology. I still can't believe eating a piece of fruit led to all this. Commander Suna Park checked her presentation notes one final time. The galaxy is about to learn that their understanding of biology has been very limited. Are we ready for the consequences? Prime. Observer Nix approached the human delegation. Their crystal skin showed the deep green patterns of nervous anticipation. The council species are connecting now. Some of them are very skeptical about your claims. That's understandable, Dr. Yena Song replied. If someone told us that a species could survive in conditions we thought were impossible, we would be skeptical too. The first hologram materialized above the communication platform. It was a representative of the HFY, an aquatic species that lived in the methane seas of gas giant moons. The being appeared as a fluid, semi-transparent creature that constantly shifted shape. I am current flows through deep places, the HFY announced through their translation system. We have reviewed the data you submitted. Our scientists believe there are errors in your measurements. The next hologram showed a Quartzian delegate, a being made of living silicon crystals that formed geometric patterns. I am structure of ordered minerals. We concur with the HFY assessment. The environmental conditions you describe would prevent silicon-based life from forming at all. More holograms appeared as the other species connected to the meeting. The Luxarians were beings of pure energy, who existed in stellar coronas. The Verdant Collective was a hive mind of plant-like organisms. Each species looked completely different, but they all shared one common trait. They had all evolved in carefully controlled, stable environments. High Chancellor Ryan Mesh called the council to order. We are gathered to evaluate the biological capabilities of the species known as humans. Prime Observer Nix will present the findings. Nix activated the holographic display and began showing the data they had collected over the past weeks. The presentation included video footage of humans eating toxic fruit, walking through radiation zones, and handling dangerous chemicals. These beings consumed substances that are classified as Class A biological hazards, Nix explained. Not only did they survive, their health indicators improved. Current flows through deep. Places rippled with what appeared to be disbelief. This footage must be altered. No organic being can process those alkaloids. We thought the same thing. Keth, Veltar interjected. So we ran additional tests. The holographic display showed readings from multiple instruments, all confirming the same impossible results. Structure of ordered minerals shifted into a pattern that indicated deep skepticism. Perhaps these humans have some form of protective technology that you have not detected. Captain Taman Kang stepped forward. I volunteered for the most recent tests. Would you like to see me demonstrate? Without waiting for an answer, he pulled out a small container of earth food. This is kimchi, he explained, opening the container. The spicy, fermented vegetables immediately triggered warning signals from every scanner in the clearing. It's a traditional Korean food made with bacteria, salt, and peppers that can cause chemical burns. The captain took a large bite of the kimchi and chewed thoughtfully. Tastes like home. Every alien representative reacted with alarm. The Hydry's form became more agitated. The Quartzians' crystals flashed warning colors. Even the energy beings of the Luxarian delegation pulsed with what appeared to be concern. You just consumed multiple biological toxins simultaneously, a Luxarian delegate observed. Why are you not experiencing cellular breakdown? Because humans evolved eating foods like this, Dr. Song explained. She activated her own presentation, showing Earth's evolutionary history. Our species survived by learning to process hostile environments and dangerous substances. The presentation showed images of Earth, volcanic eruptions, ice ages, radiation from solar flares, and ecosystems filled with predators and poisonous organisms. This is your homeworld? Asked a delegate from the Verdant Collective. It appears to be in a constant state of environmental warfare. That's exactly right, Commander Park confirmed. Earth is what we call a dynamic environment. Conditions change rapidly and often violently. Humans learn to adapt or die. Engineer Dae-Hyun Lee added his own observations. We've been studying your species' worlds through the data you've shared. Most of you evolved on planets with stable climates, gentle weather, and minimal environmental challenges. You built civilizations by avoiding dangers. Of course, structure of ordered minerals. Replied, why would any species choose to face unnecessary hazards? Because facing hazards makes you stronger, Jiho said simply. He pulled out one of the purple fruits that had started this entire situation. This fruit contains enough poison to kill most of you, but for humans it's just a nutritious snack that happens to taste good. He took a bite of the fruit while every alien representative watched in fascination and horror. Dr. Song continued the presentation by showing human medical practices. We deliberately expose ourselves to weakened diseases to build immunity. We stress our bodies with exercise to make our muscles and bones stronger. We even consume small amounts of toxins because they can be beneficial in controlled doses. You practice voluntary exposure to biological hazards, current flows through deep places, asked in amazement. It's called building resilience, Captain, Kang explained. Instead of avoiding challenges, we prepare for them. Instead of seeking perfect safety, we learn to handle imperfect conditions. The council fell silent as they processed this information. For thousands of years, galactic civilization had been built on the principle of avoiding risk and seeking stability. The idea that a species could thrive by embracing danger was completely foreign to their thinking. Finally, High Chancellor Mesh spoke. If what you claim is true, then humans represent a fundamental shift in our understanding of biological possibility. You suggest that exposure to hostile conditions can create strength rather than weakness. That's exactly what we're saying, Dr. Song confirmed. And we believe other species might be able to learn similar adaptation techniques with proper training and gradual exposure. The implications were staggering. If other species could learn human-style resilience, the galaxy would suddenly have access to thousands of worlds that were previously considered uninhabitable. A delegate from the ethereal communion, a species of gas-based life forms, raised a question that everyone was thinking. Are you proposing to teach other species to survive in conditions that we have spent millennia learning to avoid? We're proposing to share what we've learned about adaptation and resilience, Commander Park replied diplomatically. Whether other species choose to use this knowledge is entirely up to them. Prime Observer Nix made the announcement that would change galactic history. The Valari proposed to establish the first Interspecies Adaptation Research Institute. We will study human methods and determine if they can be safely applied to other forms of life. The vote was unanimous. Every species wanted to understand how humans had achieved the impossible. As the council meeting ended and the holograms faded away, the clearing on Kepler 442b became quiet again. The humans and Valari stood together, realizing they had just witnessed the beginning of a new era. Do you think we made the right choice? Jiho asked, finishing his toxic fruit. I think we just opened the galaxy to possibilities they never imagined, Nix replied, their crystal skin showing the bright colors of excitement and hope. Above them, the alien stars seemed to shine a little brighter, as if the universe itself was anticipating the changes to come. 6 months later, Kepler 442b had become the most important planet in known space. What started as a simple research mission had transformed into the Galactic Center for Biological Adaptation Studies. Ships from dozens of worlds now orbited the planet, carrying scientists, diplomats, and volunteers eager to learn from the impossible humans. The Interspecies Adaptation Research Institute covered several square kilometers of the planet's surface. Human and alien architecture blended together in ways that seemed impossible, but somehow worked perfectly. Crystalline Valari structures grew alongside Earth-style modular buildings, while energy-based Luxarian facilities floated above ground. Level Dr. Jiho Kim walked through the main research facility, still amazed by how much had changed. He now held the title of Director of Human Adaptation Studies, though he still thought of himself as just a biologist who had eaten some fruit. "Good morning, Director Kim," called out researcher Velnari, a young Valari whose crystal skin showed the bright blues and greens of enthusiasm. "The morning test results are ready for review." Jiho smiled at how normal this had all become. "How is our volunteer program progressing?" "Remarkably well," Velnari replied, their skin patterns shifting to show excitement. "Subject Keth has successfully consumed diluted versions of 3 different Earth toxins with no adverse effects." They walked together to the main laboratory where Keth Veltar was participating in the gradual adaptation program. The former xenobiologist had volunteered to be the first Valari to attempt human-style resilience training. "Keth, how are you feeling today?" Jiho asked. The Valari's crystal skin showed healthy golden patterns. Better than ever, actually. Yesterday I consumed what you call mild coffee, without any negative reactions. My cognitive functions appear to have improved. Commander. Suna Park entered the lab carrying a stack of reports. She had been promoted to Director of Interspecies Relations and spent most of her time coordinating between different alien governments. The Quartzians have requested permission to send a volunteer for the program, she announced. Apparently, Structure of Ordered Minerals has been studying our reports and believes silicon-based life might be able to adapt similar resistance techniques. Engineer Daehyun Lee looked up from his workstation where he was designing new environmental testing equipment. That's incredible. 6 months ago, they thought we were impossible. Now they want to learn from us. Dr. Yena Song emerged from her private research lab, where she had been working on the theoretical foundations of cross-species adaptation. I've made a breakthrough in understanding why human methods work, she announced. It's all about controlled stress and gradual exposure. Explain it to us, Keth requested. The Valari had become fascinated by human scientific methods. Most species evolve to avoid environmental stress, Dr. Song began. You find safe conditions and stay there, but humans evolved on a world where safety was temporary and change was constant. We learned to adapt to stress rather than avoid it. She activated a holographic display showing cellular activity. When humans are exposed to mild toxins or radiation, our cells don't just survive the damage, they become stronger and more resistant. It's like exercise for our biology. And this can be taught to other species? Velnari asked hopefully. With careful preparation and gradual exposure, yes. But it requires completely changing how a species thinks about safety and risk. Captain. Taemin Kang entered the lab carrying a special delivery from Earth. Fresh supplies from home, he announced, setting down containers of various Earth foods and beverages. Among the supplies was a new batch of coffee, chocolate, spicy foods, and other substances that alien scanners still classified as dangerous. But now, instead of panic, the alien researchers showed curiosity. May I try the chocolate today? Keth asked nervously. I have been preparing for weeks with smaller toxin exposures. Dr. Song handed them a tiny piece of mild chocolate. Start very small. Chocolate contains several compounds that are toxic to most species, but humans have been eating it safely for thousands of years. Keth placed the chocolate in their mouth and waited. Their crystal skin shifted through several color patterns as they processed the new sensations. Finally, their skin settled into warm golden hues. It's pleasant, they said with surprise. Sweet and bitter at the same time. I can feel my body processing the compounds, but instead of harm, there is satisfaction. The breakthrough represented months of careful work. Keth had been gradually exposed to increasingly complex Earth substances, building tolerance and adaptation step by step. It was working. This success opens up incredible possibilities, Commander Park observed. If Valari can learn to process Earth substances, other species might adapt to conditions on previously uninhabitable worlds. The communication system activated, bringing in a holographic message from High Chancellor Ryan Mesh. The elderly Valari, leader's crystal skin showed patterns of deep satisfaction. Congratulations on the breakthrough, the Chancellor said. The Galactic Council has approved the expansion of the adaptation program to 12 more worlds. We are particularly excited about the applications for planetary colonization. The message continued with updates from across the galaxy. Former death worlds were being surveyed for potential colonization by adapted species. Environmental hazards that had blocked exploration for millennia were being reconsidered as manageable challenges. The Ethereal Communion has reported success with their first adaptation trials, the Chancellor announced. The Hydrii have begun experimenting with exposure to different chemical environments. Even the energy-based Luxarians are studying ways to exist in previously impossible stellar conditions. After the message ended, the research team gathered around the main table to discuss their progress. "We've created something bigger than we ever imagined," Jiho reflected. "We didn't just make first contact. We've changed how the galaxy thinks about life itself. The best part," Daehyun added, "is that we did it by just being ourselves. We didn't try to be special or superior. We just showed them that surviving challenges makes you stronger instead of weaker." Dr. Song pulled up the latest reports from across their research network. The psychological changes might be even more important than the biological ones. Species that have spent millennia avoiding risks are now actively seeking controlled challenges. They're learning to grow instead of just surviving, Mira Choi observed. She had arrived the previous month to establish a biochemistry research division. As evening fell on Kepler 442b, the two moons rose over a planet that had become a symbol of transformation. In the Research Institute, beings from dozens of different worlds worked together, learning that the impossible was just another word for not yet accomplished. Keth Veltar stood in the center of the original grove where Jiho had first eaten, the purple fruit. The Volari now regularly consumed small amounts of the fruit as part of their adaptation training. Their crystal skin glowed with healthy colors in the moonlight. "Thank you," Keth said to Jiho, who had come to join them in the evening walk. "For what?" "For showing us that there is no such thing as impossible, only challenges we haven't learned to handle yet." Jiho smiled and picked one of the fruits from the tree. "Want to share some impossible fruit with a friend?" Keth's skin brightened with joy as they accepted half of the fruit that had once been classified as certain death. As they ate together under the alien stars, representatives of two very different species celebrated the discovery that the universe was much larger and more welcoming than anyone had ever dared to imagine. The galaxy would never be the same. And that was exactly what it needed. Above them, ships from 100 worlds continued to arrive, carrying beings ready to learn that survival was just the beginning, and that thriving in the face of challenges was the real secret to exploring an infinite universe. The impossible had become possible, one small bite at a time.